presentation for me. I'm sort of saving my photos and videos for the hearing. Excuse me. So my subject's on the update of indirect conflict of the things that we're talking about here. We're talking about a significant industrial scale gravel extraction operation applying for consent at the head of the Peach Island area. So just directly upstream of the end of Peach Island. We've been, I guess, fighting this for nearly over 2 years now. There's a few in the room here know quite a lot about this, who have also been active in this. I'll try to keep this brief. We had a local public meeting where a lot of concerns were raised about this activity. By the end of that meeting, I found myself basically ending up the spokesman. So yeah, it's been quite an educational process, I'd have to say. So the first job for me was to information gather. So what industrial scale gravel extraction, according to CJ Industries, it is digging huge holes to water level and below water level, and then filling it with anything they can get their hands on. Simple as that. Well, I spoke to, so we use Douglas Road, which you may know. There's a significant operation been going for 10 years there. I talked to all the local landowners there. Their concerns were mainly they all had contaminated water supplies. They all were dealing with significant industrial noise. They were all dealing with significant truck movements. They all dealt with a significant, sorry for the TDC representatives here, council representatives, but total lack of compliance monitoring of operations and lack of dealing with complaints. I myself went down there with Hannah, my partner. We took photos of plastic being buried. You know, we've seen houses that were demolished on the edge of pits, essentially pushed into the pits and buried. I've got video footage of all manner of activities that clearly explain why everyone's got contaminated water supplies at Douglas Road. It's the worst kept secret. Anyway, information gathering. So that was the key thing. The key issues along with that are noise, heavy industry, simple as that, diggers, trucks, constant truck movements, 30 truck and trailer movements. Now, if you've spent any time on the main street of Motueka, you see those big blue truck and trailer movements. There's an expectation, or the application is for 30 of those truck movements a day to and from this site. It's 30 truck movements from Motueka all the way up the east bank of the Motueka River, down the west bank to site and out. It doesn't include staff vehicles and all manner of other vehicles. 30 won't be the limit. They always exceed the limits. So there'll be multiple extra truck movements on top of that. The noise of that operation on a day-to-day industrial site, constant noise, 7 AM to 5 PM every day, 5 days a week. Dry conditions, we all know there's wind up and down the valley, dust, constant is a problem. There are numerous and constant complaints by residents from Douglas Road and a site like that about dust problems. These are very minimal efforts to minimise that sort of thing. When you're dealing with a large industrial company, it is very, very difficult to get anything sorted, pretty much. It's very clear. This is all information from landowners and affected parties. A big part of it is rural one land. It's productive land, productive rural one, highly productive inside the Peach Island. It is very clear, and by council's own reports, this cannot be reinstated to a healthy level post extraction of gravel and backfilling with whatever they can get their hands on. I have hundreds of photos of stuff that should not be buried anywhere, let alone into water tables or on top of water tables. Water contamination is probably the biggest significant impact of this. Just by talking to the landowners at Douglas Road, it's clear what the problems are there, and they will tell you the stuff that's been buried in there is, you just don't want to know. And it's not even a secret. It's quite an open secret. No matter who you talk to, they all talk about it. It's been happening for years. It is still happening now. Guarantee it. Just last week, so this is what it's like dealing with a company like that. And TDC have been dealing with them for years and years with that. We drove past the site on this last weekend, on Anzac weekend, Saturday. diggers extracting gravel from Douglas Road. Clearly video footage, we thought, oh, that's not on, breaching their consent conditions. We went past 4 o'clock on the same day, they were still doing it. I decided to ring the council, which is not my style. But anyway, I've laid a complaint. That's fine. We went back past the next day doing something else, and they're back at it on a Sunday, extracting gravel on site. Tuesday, after the long weekend, a compliance officer from TDC went to the site, rang me, said, I'm on the way to the site. If there's signs, I'll make some investigations. He went straight there. He rang me. I spoke to him later on. He had issued an infringement notice for breaching their consent. Essentially, slap on hand, small fine. They make money out of that sort of thing. That's the least of their worries, is being poured out and having an infringement notice against them in small fines. It does not curtail their activities. Cost them maybe, I'm guessing, $500 in fines. They've probably made $20,000 or $30,000 by working over the weekend by breaching consent. It's obvious that once an operation like this gets established, it gets its consent, it's allowed to operate, it gets established, there's virtually no control over it after that point. And that's for a number of reasons. Lack of access to sites. Dare I say it with council again, lack of compliance monitoring. They're understaffed. They freely admit that to us with our dealings. So it's very, very tough to keep on top of these things. And when penalties for breaches of conditions aren't substantial, there's no incentive for change. But once they're there, it's all on for young and old. Very few rules. I'll just try to get, so basically there was 125 submissions in opposition to go to hearing. There was I think around 30 in support of that. 30 had very, very little I guess significant input for submissions in favour of this activity. The 125 odd submissions against were substantial and well grounded, very good information, a lot of knowledge. 1 week before, 2 weeks before going to the hearing, which was meant to be the 28th of March, the 42A comes out, which is a document put out by council, which is a summary of all events, submissions, application details, reports, all this kind of thing. Outlines probably a lot about what the hearing will be based on, asks a lot of questions and covers a lot of information. It was very clear when the S42A came out, there was a lot of questions to be answered still by CJs through their application. 1 week later, they pulled their application, not completely, they delayed, asked for, I guess, a delay to the hearing, or putting off the hearing, because there's no way they could have complied in the time they had for the hearing for more information. So we've been fighting this for 2 years. It's probably now looking like an August hearing. We were kind of ready to go. We've had to spend put a lot of time and spend a lot of our ratepayers' money into this to just to be heard by council. So this kind of activity will seriously impact the water supplies in Motueka. It is digging gravel to the aquifers or to the water tables and then backfilling with anything into the water. Now, I've got photos of the stuff that goes back in these holes. There are 40 different companies over the Nelson district at the moment backfilling into these pits in Motueka around here. 40 different companies with no monitoring of what's going in there. I've got photos of the stuff that's going in there, and it's not good. It's not good at all. The main points of the 42A raised were the loss of productive land. You know, once they take the gravel out, it cannot be reinstored to a productive level. The cross-boundary effects to neighbours, that's dust and noise, and in the case of Peach Island, it's dust on fruit. You know, it's reject of an export product potentially. Constant noise, there's no way to avoid that. A big question was, when you see these applications, there's a lot of money thrown at these. They are big, big companies involved with this. Big the applicants reporting companies throw a lot of money at these. They are designed to basically blind you with bullshit. Significant circles and arrows, graphs, and information that very few people can understand. one of the big questions was, please explain where is all the gravel that you're going to extract from Peach Island if you do not go below the water table. Big question. The application is for 15 years of continuous gravel extraction. It's been raised, and Mike Harvey here has been very helpful in giving this information. Where's the gravel if you do not extract below the water table? It is just not there based on their figures. So there's a lot of stuff that's being in the applications that really doesn't balance up. So the questions were asked, the hearing was delayed. We're back to square one. It looks as though we're going to have a 5 month delay to the next hearing. So essentially this large company has now had, for about the second time, an opportunity to go away and pretty much tick more boxes and dot more I's and cross more T's to come back for the final hearing. This is a slippery slope. Heavy industry in the middle of in that community in there in the valley. Once that's established, it will proliferate. There's no question. They are already talking about there may be an application for their neighbouring property. These companies purchased those properties for gravel extraction solely. That's the only reason they bought it, and it's it's right in the middle of the valley. It's the top of the Motueka aquifer. From there, it's all the water travels all the way to the delta. You know, if you pollute at that point, it's the whole of Motueka's water supply technically for anyone who draws from a bore. That's probably all I'm going to say about it. Really, it's tiring. It's very, very tiring dealing with this. It's like beating your head against the wall. You're dealing with companies with a lot of clout, with a lot of money and a lot of influence in town. The reality is that if the locals on the west bank of the Mott River did not get involved with this and start to push back, we would already have an industrial scale gravel extraction operation in full swing in the centre of Peach Island, and it would not stop there. It would be the whole of the upper Peach Island area, significant areas, including the neighbouring property, anything up to 20 hectares. Serious stuff. And I've got video footage this week, or two weeks ago, I was given, and we've been lots of photos, lots of absolute evidence of the stuff that goes on, and it's not good. This last week, 2 weeks ago, I got video footage of 20-tonne diggers digging as far as they can reach down below the water table, extracting gravel, which is a big no-no. You know, it's no extraction below water level. It is standard operating procedure. Very, very slippery slope. Once it starts, it'll just proliferate, and so the idea is not even allow it to get started, and we're willing to put in a lot more time and a lot more of our own money to make sure that doesn't happen. Sorry.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Peter.